right, so Mike Altamura, you are in South Africa. How did this all come about?
Happened because of a very, very dear friend of mine, Colin Nathan, head of MTK Africa. So I've known Colin for many years. See, it depends on whose count it is. It's about 17 or 18. I met him on an internet boxing forum. So we got corresponding and chatting from there. And as many people in this part of the world will know, Colin lives and breathes the sport, a very, very passionate individual. So, of course, we're colleagues within MTK. So Colin was a person that I'd highly recommended to our office. So with MTK, I'm in the role of international consultant. And Colin being a long-time friend, and I knew he was perfect for the role. So essentially here, just checking in on some of the fighters, familiarizing myself with the space we have here at MTK Africa / Hot Boxing Gym. And of course, I was at the fights in East London the other night. So that's been a very, very productive few days.
And what have you seen of, obviously, Colin and, you know, sort of him bringing up, he's got a big stable of boxers.
Yeah.
What do you see in him as a, you know, a person that you're working with?
Work ethic, man. He's a taskmaster. Very, very hard-working guy. One of the hardest-working trainers, hardest-working people you encounter in the industry. And, you know, he's a guy that at an early age invested in himself, traveled the world, as you know, did a number of stints at Freddie Roach's gym, learning his craft and bettering his craft. And what I like about Colin is he's never settled. You know, it'd be easy to produce a few world champions and settle, but he's always hungrier for more. And I trust in him. The thing is, like a lot of people, and I trust him both as a friend and as a trainer. Sometimes you have one, but not the other. But as a trainer, I think he's an exceptional trainer. His fighters are always finely tuned and well conditioned. And on the business side of things, he's as trustworthy as they come.
Looking at your jacket there, you got it's Ghana?
Yeah, Viva Ghana. Yeah, it's actually a gift from one of my fighters. So George Ashley, you know him because he beat Michael McKenna last year.
Yep, that's right.
But yeah, George Ashley, I was in Accra just over a week ago for a show he was main eventing at the festival. He won by a first round knockout, and then he came to me because I told him the previous day he was wearing actually like one of these jackets precisely. I said, "My God, that's a really, really cool jacket." So you can't see it now, but there's a tiger on the back as well, and his name's a red tiger. And then the next day he's like, "I want to come see you at the hotel." So, you know, I didn't know, like normally fighters just want to check in with management and talk about their career or whatever. He's like, "I have a present for you." So he brought me this jacket, so I'm proud to represent. You know, he's a very, very good human being, a pleasure to work with.
You mean Ghana, you're quite familiar with, you've had quite a few Ghanaian fighters, if I believe.
Yeah, I've been to Accra now 12 times. So I'm a seasoned campaigner. There's so much talent there. You know, I've been trying to work on some projects now, development projects with the Ghana Boxing Authority. And obviously with, you know, MTK expanding throughout Africa to try and build and nurture the future stars of the sport and set the landscape where there can be more and more top-notch Ghanaian fighters that have basically the ability to advance at every level.
The biggest name from Ghana that you formally represented, I should say, Isaac Dogboe. What was the journey with him like as you were managing him?
It was incredible. You know, I started working with him early in his career, and firstly, a lot of people didn't know him, and those that kind of knew him from the amateurs always said, you know, he's too small for the professional ranks. His father's a madman, which is true, but you know, there's a lot of passion there too, and a lot of nurturing and care from his side, so it wasn't all bad. A lot of people said, you know, I don't think he can punch enough, I don't think he moves well enough. So for me, it was like challenge accepted. You know, the kid was young. When I started working with him, he was like 20 years of age, and we just figured we'll just keep building his experience. He was actually up at 130 pounds when I started working with him. So he's 5'2", 130, and I talked the father into dropping him to 126. And then when he fought Neil John Tabernao, who's a very, very good fighter, Filipino, Neil John had just knocked out an Australian Olympian I was representing, Ibrahim Bala. So I was like, man, I've got to get this one back. So I matched the fight with Dogboe, and Dogboe showed me a number of things in that fight. He outboxed him basically with one hand from the fourth round. He had injured his shoulder. So he had injured his right shoulder and basically beat him left-handed alone the rest of the fight. And further, he weighed 123 3/4. So he's fighting a featherweight, and I said to Paul, you know what, I really think he can make Super Bantam. and I knew that there was an opening with the rankings to push for a number one spot. So we just fought a number of ranked fighters back to back, keep them busy, and when the opportunity came at the WBO convention on like 6 weeks' notice to fight Cesar Juarez for the interim world title, to Paul's credit, he rustled up the money and we brought the fight to Accra. So, as I say, the rest is history. He went on to conquer Magdaleno for the title.
Yeah.
So no matter what transpired at the end, what an unbelievable experience, especially to win against the grain with an African kid that a lot of people internationally had totally overlooked.
Look, you don't represent him anymore, but there's his career still continues. Is he in good hands now? Do you know what's next for him, sort of?
I think that they need to make some changes. There was talk that the father was going to be removed as a trainer, and I really think that Paul needs to let go completely, step out of it, every business component. The problem that I kept running into with him was he was trying to micromanage everyone in the team. And when I say, I mean from me working as an advisor, to the sponsorship manager, to the assistant trainers, to the person driving the cars, to the PR lady, to everyone. And, all right, well, if you're an expert at everything, do it all yourself. That was kind of the reaction he got. I think he needs to step out a little bit. He can still be around, but he needs to allow someone else to take the reins, develop his son. The kid's only 24. Well, actually, I think he just turned 25, sorry.
Young.
He's 25. He's got a huge future ahead of him if he adjusts. If he doesn't adjust, it's going to be a what-if story.
You became an MTK consultant February 2018, I believe.
Yeah, it was like January, but it was announced in February.
It was announced in February. Yeah. Sort of, you were brought in to bring in talent and so forth. Since you've joined, how much talent have you brought to the company?
I tried more to work on structuring the company. So if you structure the company right, the talent will come. When I first started with the company, it was primarily, and when I say primarily, like a 95% ratio British and Irish fighters. And it wasn't alluring for international fighters to come with the organisation. So the first thing was, how do we work upon developing so that we're an alluring option for people around the world? So like some of the early signings, we had Sultan Zorbek, who's a very, very good young fighter from Kazakhstan, 130 pounds. Nurtas Azbanov, who had an amateur win over Fazluddin Gabe Nazarov, the Olympic gold medalist from 2016 at 64 kilograms. We signed Zoirov, who was Olympic gold medalist from Uzbekistan, and Tojabayev from Uzbekistan as well. I don't know how I just reeled off all their names, but
those
bit of practice.
To say either.
South African names I'm absolutely woeful at, so I'll need your assistance.
We'll skip those.
So that was, I thought, a really, really important first step. And then it was just basically like I got on the road. I went to the States. I met with Top Rank. Like the company already had Colin with Top Rank, but there was no other fighters from MTK. So we opened the doors to that working relationship. Then I had suggested Bob Yalen, who was a WBC ratings chairman and former director of programming at ESPN. I'd suggested Yalen for the role of president because I felt like he just brought everything. TV background, hardworking guy, experienced in the industry, has the right kind of mentality, exceptional people skills. And it would soften the mentality of a lot of the people in the industry to us. So that was one step. Another one was Colin joining in Africa. In terms of fighters I brought over TJ Doney as world champion. Obviously, Colin and I, will both key in Maruti Matalani coming on board with the company. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. There's development projects and development fighters, but I only want to bring in quality. I don't want to just bring in numbers and be beating my chest and be saying, hey, I brought in 60 fighters because, all right, then we've got to keep them busy.
Yeah.
And I want to bring guys that we believe we can invest in that have the ability to become real top-tier, world-class fighters. So it's been a great opportunity so far, and I'm enjoying my time.
Your scouting has been going on, well, as you said, you're trying to build the structure, but the scouting that you had, 3 Olympics that you've been attending, who's the best star you've seen coming out of the Olympics?
Of the current crop?
We're gonna skip Rigondeaux and Lomachenko, maybe those sort of guys. I'm seeing from what you've seen, maybe not that you've signed, but people that you've seen boxing at the Olympics.
Oh, so okay, I'll give you a few. Serek Sapiev, Sapiev. He was a Val Barker medalist of the 2016 Olympics, but I saw him in Chicago. I was at the Worlds in 2007. And I was just like, this guy is incredible. Like lightning fast hands, really sharp in and out. And I said to myself, I'm like, you know what? I could see this guy, like his conditioning might be suspect. I could see this guy winning a world title in 5 fights. He was that good. He ended up, like I said, won the gold medal, worked for the Kazakhstan Federation. And when I was in Kazakhstan a few years ago, I said to him, I go, you know, Sarek, I would have offered you a deal, but when I spoke to you, you told me you're committed to WSB in Kazakhstan. He's like, well, you never told me how much money you're offering. I was like, damn. I think he's one of them. Other guy, Suranjoy Singh was a terrific Indian fighter, 52 kilos. Mini Mike Tyson, little southpaw, mini Mike Tyson. How nobody signed him, I have absolutely no idea.
He never went pro?
Never turned pro. In terms of like, you want to go way back. I mean, there's a lot of guys that I saw in the amateurs that were great that didn't turn out because of lifestyle. Frankie Gavin was lightning fast in the amateurs, but never lived a life and paid a price for that in the pros. A lot of other fighters, I see Mongolians, Enkbar Badaugan, try and remember that name, but Olympic gold medalist 2008 from Mongolia. No interest from anyone in him turning pro. Fought for the federation. No real built-up professional boxing in Mongolia, but that guy to me would have been bantamweight champion of the world. So there's a lot of stories like that out there. And like I'm noting guys that were exceptionally well-known amateurs internationally.
Yeah.
There's a lot of guys you see at a regional level and you're like, wow. And then the kids just disappear. You know, there's a lot of talent, especially here in Africa. You know, there's a kid. I'll give you one kid now. So it's probably going to affect us signing him, but it's okay. Well, I believe we're the right people for the job, and I believe it shouldn't affect us too much. There's a kid, Isaac Masembi from Uganda, 19 years of age, little pocket dynamo. I know a kid like that in the hands of a trainer like Colin Nathan is going to be nurtured and improved because I've seen the training standards there and they're not where they should be. They're not at international scale. The kid probably has one pair of gloves which he uses to hit the bag and to spar. And they're his backup. You know, there's not the infrastructure in place, but if you develop it or you put the right infrastructure in place, believe me, there's a lot of sleeping giants in Africa.
With your current busy schedule, do you still plan on attending the Olympics again and again and again?
Next year I will. Yeah,
Okay.
It's in Tokyo. So I'd attended the 2008 games and the 2012 for Top Rank. 2016 I was really busy with my travel schedule. So I did it remotely. I did a little bit from home and a little bit from on the road, but I was consulting Colm already at Top Rank most days. This year I'll do it for 2020 in Tokyo. I'll do it for MTK Global. So, you know, I've been following the amateurs really, really close. I was at the Commonwealth Games last year. We've had representation. Obviously, Colin was recently at the All African Games. We had Thomas Stalker and Mirko from our company at the World Championships. So I've been corresponding with them, looking over the talent, and you know, we'll make our run at the necessary parties when the time is right.
Billy Dib, interesting story that you told me off camera. I don't know if you can remember everything.
But I'm happy to tell it anytime.
Billy Dib, tell us a story about him.
From the start?
Well, we can summarize it. Let's summarize it. Essentially,
early career, I thought he was an absolute brat. He'd fought one of my fighters and stood over him and did this signal when he knocked the guy down. And I was just like, man, like at that time, I swear, if I could have got away with, I don't know, have you watched the movie Election?
No, I haven't.
It's a movie with Matthew Broderick. He sees this girl that he knows manipulated an election system in a high school, and he knows she cheated, and she still ends up getting him thrown out as a teacher in the end. So he sees her one day on the street, so in the back of a car, like the back of a limo or something like that, and he has a milkshake in his hand, and out of rage he throws a milkshake at the windshield. And I swear, if I had like a milkshake in my hand at that stage, I would have thrown it straight at Billy's head. So enraged at him, I was just like, man, you know, you classless person. That's how I felt. I'm not saying that's what he was. So anyways, long story short, a couple of years later, I was working with Cameron Duncan. I advised Cameron, who managed Stevie Luevano, the WBO featherweight champion at the time. I said, I go, please Cam, do me a favour. I know you've got a voluntary defence coming up. please pick Billy Dib. I need to put the first hour on his record. It was just mentally for me. So Luevano outboxed him pretty clearly, I thought. Had the right style to frustrate Billy. And still in my heart, and again, I'm not saying I'm thinking right, but still in my heart, I had resentment for Billy. And then about a year later, he was in the same gym as my boxer, Paul Fleming, who was a 2008 Olympian. He's still unbeaten now. And, you know, Billy was starting to take Paul under his wing, and the trainer Billy was saying to me, you know, he's actually not a bad kid if you get to know him. And one day in the gym, you know, like I seen Billy and was talking to him, and Billy's like, you know, Mike, you know, I really like to talk to you. And I was completely dismissive of it. But he asked me again, so I thought, you know what? You know, this kid is pretty brazen, and I respect the fact that he had the wherewithal to come and chat with me. So I sat and had a chat with him, and you know, he starts outlining to me. He's like, you know, how did you know Luevano was going to beat me? What did you see? You know, so I gave him my breakdown of the fight and how I envisioned it going in. Talked to him about the current status of his career at that point, because Billy was a kid, he always wanted everything now. I used to say to him, just be patient, eventually it's going to fall your way. And what happened with Billy then is, you know, I started working with him a little bit later, and literally it was like 2 fights in. We fought Jorge La Sierva, so we cultivated the situation for him to fight La Sierva for the vacant IBF world title. And to the end of these days, he'll always be IBF featherweight world champion. Incredible accomplishment, and it just shows you some things can go full circle. You know, now Billy's one of my favorite people in the game.
Wow, jeez. Yeah, I mean, I did an interview with him in when I was in Saudi Arabia with Colin, and he seemed like a really nice guy.
He is, He's matured and evolved a lot, and I think we all have. You know, I'm sure if someone shined the light on some of my actions back then, I'd be like, oh gosh.
It wasn't me.
You know, it's like, I think everyone's like that, and he's a really, really good human being.
Comes with age and maturity. Well, have you enjoyed your stay here in South Africa? I know it's been like a week, maybe. Yeah. Have you enjoyed your stay here?
It's been wonderful. I really enjoy the energy in the gym. You know, meeting all the young fighters, you can see why they're successful. You can see why so many kids from South Africa maybe don't have the strongest amateur credentials or huge hype around them, or maybe take a few losses on the way up, because they're matched very tough here.
Yeah.
On the way up, like the SA title fights are all regional, pretty much like regional level fights. So you can see why you got a kid 10-1 fighting a kid 15-0, but they're even. So maybe the 15-0 kid takes a loss, the 10-1 kid grows. Someone internationally looks at him and says, "Oh, he's 11-1," and they write him off. Like Ashley Lamini, like perfect example, turned pro at lightweight when he's really a featherweight.
Yeah.
You know, and probably at that stage was maybe even less. Maybe he was even a super bantam back then. But people only from the outside see the loss. They don't see that it can be nurtured. They don't. Simpiwe Konko, another great example, 19-5. You know, people don't necessarily associate that with a highly successful fighter, but he is.
Just the way they brought him through the ranks.
Yeah, so there's different ways. Guys can improve here on the job, and even they can excel in their late 20s. And I can see it. A lot of it's got to do with the culture of boxing and the work ethic in the gym. It's been a great week. Obviously, a bit of controversy clouding Azinga Fuzile, which I feel confident from our perspective, but we'll see how it plays out. But yeah, outside of that, it was wonderful being at that event in East London. What an amazing vibe for the fights.
Azinga Fuzile as a fighter, I mean, obviously from the outside, he was clearly really far ahead on points before the incidents occurred. That's been filed at the moment. Him as a boxer, do you still see him being a world champion?
He will be a world champion. As long as he lives a life, he will be a world champion. I'm very, very confident.
Well, thank you for speaking to us. It's I've been meaning to do this for a while, but just your first time coming here since I've been operating. I don't know if it's your first time ever here or if it's your first time.
I've done a stopover for like 8 hours. I was out of the airport for 8 hours, so this is essentially the first time here.
All right, well, welcome, and I suppose you're leaving tomorrow.
Yes, sir.
So it's a hi and bye, and yeah.
Unfortunately, I'll be back though.
Yeah. It was really nice meeting you though, Mike. It's a
pleasure, brother.